And the seagulls follow the shore. It's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you.
And as we say now in my country, they brought the buzz and they left the buzz in front of the goal.
And the guy's talking absolute nonsense. Never heard so much rubbish in my life.
Normal men.
What do you mean, normal men?
We're just innocent men.
I'm telling you, don't back down, double down. Don't back down, double down.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is Thursday night, and you know what that means. It's a Thursday night forum. It's a bit different. I'm in the hosting seat tonight. It's not Friday night. One of my usual cohorts from a Friday night is joining me as well. This is the panel this evening, just the two of us, Russell. It's been a little while since it's just been you and me on a live show as well. It's just like the good old days, mate. But, you know,
it feels a bit bus stop-esque, doesn't it?
It does a bit. We usually were pre-recorded with them, but yeah, we're live tonight. Yes,
you asked me about someone winding me up. Do you know what I mean?
But no, just as Will Smith says, just the two of us, we can make it if we try. And tonight, Russell, we shall make it. But how you doing, mate? You've been on hosting duty for 3 days on the bounce, Monday club, Tuesday ticket, Wednesday breakfast bar. So yeah, tonight you could be in the guest seat tonight. But how you feeling, mate?
Just putting in the hours, mate. This will be 4 shows a week, and we did Sunday for an hour as well. I love it, man. I love it. In fact, I did the Sunday Blether on Sunday as well. So did I not? I did. I'm sure. So I'm earning my wages this week, mate. Wages.
Was there no PMP on Sunday? No, we heard on Saturday. I'm losing track now, mate. We've got shows everywhere.
Sunday.
Shows everywhere, mate. Just
honestly,
shows all over the place, mate. But of course, if you want to keep on top of those shows and when they go live, you know what to do, folks. If you're brand new to the bus, you hit that subscribe button. You make sure you hit that notification so that you can be alerted as to when we do go live. As I just said there, we go live quite a lot. We've got lots of shows, endless shows here. So what else do you need to hit that like button as well. Helps out with the algorithm, gets us in people's recommendations on YouTube. Of course, you can share the link of the Boise Bus on any social media platform that you wish. And of course, we do have as Russ always says, you can slag us here if you want. We do have, of course, a new Boise Bus Twitter account we set up a few weeks ago at Boise Bus. So thanks if you've given that a wee follow. Special shout out as well to those people who've went out of their way to find it and block it already without me even having to interact with them. That's quite an interesting one. So fair play to them. The dedication. I'm missing out on all the award-winning tweets. What can I say, Russell? I'm gutted at that one. Gutted, mate. Yeah, of course, getting involved in the comment section tonight, folks, because it is the T.N.F. It isn't Bustalgia. It's not quite Friday night yet. We will get there, though. But yeah, tonight is T.N.F., so it's all about your comments and points of view. So make sure you get them in for myself and Russell tonight. And also, sponsors. So, of course, head over to piesports.com. Use the code BUS1888 to get yourself a nice wee tasty discount on your order over there. And of course, we have a new sponsor as well on the bus, which we see for the last few days. ED Pharmacy. Don't be a Dirk Berichter, somebody who breaks down and doesn't quite work how he's meant to. Be a Dyson Maeda, someone that can go all night. Even longer.
Phil, that's good.
If you know what I mean. And if you want a wee discount on that one, it's bus 10, I do believe, Russell. Yes, and it's edpharmacy.co.uk.
That's
it,
edpharmacy.co.uk. They will keep you up all night long. Do a Lionel Richie. Why not?
Indeed. So yeah, Russell, first of all, viewers, make sure you just get some stuff in for us to work off. But in that time, we'll get talking, because obviously a lot's been said this week on the different shows that we've had about the certain game that's coming up on Saturday. You know, we've talked about team selections and whatnot, but there's another little thing that's hanging over this game as well. I just wanted to touch on before we get into the viewers' comments. Obviously, this is the game that has basically sparked the no fans debate, no away fans. Obviously, they started it a few months ago, and then we also returned that in kind by saying, well, the second to last game at Celtic Park, you're not getting any fans. Russell, where does this end? Does this end? Does this continue into next season? Is this a case of if they get a win on Saturday, will they use that as that's it? That's the secret. Lock their fans out. I mean, 800 fans, what really big difference does it make? But yeah, is this just going to keep going and going? Is there ever going to be a point where the SPFL, the SFA are going to get both clubs together and say, going to just work this out between you, please? Yeah. But yeah, that's obviously what's coming up on Saturday, the game with no Celtic fans there. Yep. I would say, will it make a difference? Say, the circumstances in the game, who knows? But it's just like, you just look at it and you think, are they going to keep this going into next season? Do they change it again, let some fans in, then in the next game, oh no, none of your fans are getting in again? It's like, I'm just going around in circles here, mate.
Yeah, I mean, I think they've dug their own grave, you know, again. But I mean, that's a joke. It's a joke. I think when it comes to the fan situation, is they've had to bow to fan power. Celtic have scored again, by the way. Celtic girls, get in there. 3-1, 1-0 down.
Okay.
3-1, mate. They were 1-0 down, and this was essential if they want to still win that league. Fair play to them, man. The lights, the disco lights are on.
The disco lights, yes.
The disco lights going there. I was like, signs happened. And it's Celtic have scored 3-1. The girls gets in there. With regards to fans, I think right now we're in a situation where Rangers were sick of the partying going on, and they looked for an excuse that was going to be one that didn't focus the attention on themselves. And what they decided to do was, in the years of the banter years, was, maybe the reason is because there's just too many Celtic fans. And that was something that, for whatever reason, was lapped up, bought into, and decided upon. And they reduced it to a silly number of 750, I think it was, at each ground. Just a really stupid, amount of people. You couldn't hear them even when they were cheering a goal. Do you know what I mean? I remember like Johnny Hayes scoring, and he scored Edward. And it was, it was like, this is just weird. I think they've been backed into a corner. I've said before, I think Celtic knew what they were doing when they went, it's all or nothing now. We go back to how it was, or it's nothing. And I think Celtic picked Rangers at a vulnerable time to put that ultimatum there. Yeah. But notwithstanding that, I also believe Celtic had been patient throughout that time to go, hold on here. What I find interesting is, again, there seems to be no regard. Celtic, I think, would be very keen to get it back to what it was.
Oh, yeah.
Celtic are on board with how the optics of Scottish football. Now, I would imagine if Rangers were playing away to some team that was on the telly and they had only given them the one stand, but all the the other stands that were on the telly were empty. They'd be pretty vocal in saying, "Oh, it's not good. Look how shit our game looks because you wouldn't let more of us in." Yeah, when it comes to this, that all seems to go out the window. I wonder what the sponsorship deal is like with Sky, the broadcasting deal. I think 2 seconds. I think when Sky it sort of insists on having the 4 derbies a year, and that seems to be part of the deal.
Yeah.
I think what they meant by that was for the spectacle that it was before. I don't think they'll be overly enamoured with how it's went so far. I doubt, though, they've got much weight in that conversation that they can then pull out if there isn't, a certain amount of fans of either side at the away games. So I think right now it's going to go the way of that Rangers want it to right now, which I think is a bit of a travesty. If it were me, I think it's time that you get the beaks at the top to look. We need this game to be promoted here. Someone grab them by the short and curlies and go, look, fucking stop this. It's when we get a sponsor, you've got a problem. When you've got the biggest fixture of the season, which fine well is dependent on even getting the TV deal for whether people think it's a crappy deal or not. To get that money is based a lot on that fixture. Stop jeopardising everything with all this small-minded bullshit. I just get the feeling that come next season, Phil, it'll be very much the status quo. I don't think, having had as underwhelming a season as they've had, they could then revert to telling 7,000 season ticket holders that Celtic fans will be taking your seat twice next year. I just can't envisage that in any way, shape, or form. I think it's went too far now, if you like, and I just think it's so sad because for me, it's like it just takes away an element of what the fixture's about, and I just think as well, as I say, we want to talk about. Everyone wants to make Sky the big bad wolf in the room. Everyone wants to make Sky. It's all Sky's fault. Look what they're getting offered up here. That's the fixture that was the sort of golden nugget, if you like, in the SPFL. They're now getting fed that up in a diet version now. It's not great, is it? And don't tell me there's other broadcasters sitting there waiting with a big pot of gold to throw at the SPFL either. The reason Sky pay the money they do is because they're the only TV company willing to pay it. Make comparisons to Sweden. Make comparisons to Belgium all you want. It's fucking irrelevant because none of those TV companies are coming in, Phil, to offer us the money.
No,
so
definitely not.
What's the point in even that comparison? It makes no odds. You bow to you're only worth what someone's willing to pay. And whilst you've got nonsense like this going on, I'm sorry, I think it devalues the product. It devalues it from a broadcaster's point of view, and it absolutely leaves you dealt with hands like, if Sky are offering us 7 years, I know the money's not the best, but we might need to take it. Well, there's many factors for that, but one of them undeniably is the fact this fixture, as a spectacle, has been diluted. I know a lot of our fans who are happy with the arrangement as well. Fair enough. But from a broadcaster point of view, you can't have your cake and eat it. You can't moan at broadcasters for lack of investment, then put up that 4 times a season domestically, where Viaplay are sitting there going, check out the Glasgow Derbies we've had this season.
We've had the Hampdens, they get a 50-50 split.
Two games of a 50-50 split.
Yes.
And, you look at that and for Sky to be putting in, I mean, compared to what Viaplay will be paying for those cup competitions, I mean, Sky's money might not seem a lot, Phil, but it dwarfs. I mean, absolutely dwarfs what Viaplay will be paying for two domestic cup competitions rights.
Yep.
And look at the atmosphere and the carnival, of colour that they've seen. Theirs has been a far better spectacle. And, eventually, these TV companies will get fed up with it, For me, someone just needs to grab them by the collar and just say, look, start playing ball again. Do you know what I mean? Get involved in the league you're in. If you're that fucked off with it, piss off. Do you know what I mean? But I know, in answer to your question, I know it's been pretty long-winded.
Sorry.
It will absolutely not change next year. No chance.
Nah, it's not very likely. I know there was some whispers a while ago suggesting, well, what about the European sort of allocation? Because when either Celtic or Rangers host a European tie, They have like
Cheers,
3,000 away fans there. And thanks very much, Craig. Although reading that is like you feel guilty for being late. So here's a tenner. Don't feel
Don't worry about that.
going, mate.
I know.
You know, like because I'm late. No, you don't need to do that. But thank you nonetheless. So thank you. Just I read it there. I was like, okay, aye, thanks a lot, Craig. We appreciate that massively. But I was going to say for a season ticket holder point of view as well, like it's just a great feeling when there is actually a lot of them there and you see them all heading out in their droves because they've just got pumped. Honestly, it's like, see, when we beat them 5-0 to win the league, and there was that hilarious image where Celtic are celebrating and every single seat in the Rangers end at Celtic Park is empty. Look at Hampden the other week at all when, we beat them there, 1-0, hard-fought victory. There's 25,000 of them, and it's just that looking at half the stadium, just all filing out, absolutely miserable. It's a great feeling when you see it. When it's that little corner, or if you've seen in a few games in recent years where there's none of them at all, just wish the, just to stick it up them, because that's what it's about. The football rivalry, that's what it is. But again, it's become very tit for tat between the two of them. It's like, they started it, so we're just going to return the favour in kind. And it's like, neither side is going to go, you know what, we'll be the bigger man.
We had no choice with that. We had no choice, Phil. All you can ever do is go, okay, we'll need to replicate that because think your own fan base then turns on you if, whoa, why are we giving up my seat? Do you know what I mean? 4 times a year or twice a year where we don't even get any there. So Celtic had no choice. Celtic have offered that olive branch, Phil. Now, it's not Celtic with big arches saying this is the old firm, by the way.
That's right.
Let's get it right. So they want their cake and they want to eat it, mate. It's that simple. A lot of people are coming in the comments as well saying, time has come to do our own streaming, F Sky. The reason they've not got the courage of their own convictions to do their own streaming, guys, is staring you in the face because they cannot cooperate well enough. The league is incapable of running a bath between them. The SPFL, remember, is built up of 42 member clubs. But in terms of the Premier League rights, that'll be voted on between those chairmen. You've got one of the second biggest club sitting there who are going to say no to everything. You could say it's £1 billion TV deal, and they'll say no. It doesn't matter. So it's going to be very, very difficult to ever imagine in any way, shape or form those clubs somehow coming up with their own streaming service that would be a success and some sort of broadcast that we're going to all want to watch. I think that's cuckoo land stuff, in my opinion. And you find that I know it is easy to say Sky, the big bad wolf. Do I think that the valuation on the league, when you compare it with other ones, seems low? Absolutely. But if you're at an auction and nobody else puts up the wee card, guess what? You win the auction for F all, basically. Do you know what I mean? And that's where we're at. No one else is interested. And if you think we could leave it to the clubs to do it themselves and somehow come up with a streaming service, in the words of Roy Keane, you're living in cuckoo land.
Well said, Roy Keane, our favourite on us. Now let's take the first question, and I just saw it just popped up. Quite relevant because I'm actually sitting watching the West Ham and AZ Alkmaar game because before we went on, I said, Alkmaar are beating West Ham 1-0 in the Europa Conference semi-final, a team that we beat in a qualifier for the Europa League just over a year ago. And it's like, and you look at across the city, they've managed to get to a European final as well in the last 12 months, and it's like, what is stopping us? Now, I know that Stubbsy's Horse here said that, my region is secretly missing out on it this year. But when it comes to Conference League, I think next season it's actually impossible for us to be in the Conference League because we're going straight into the Champions League. The worst that can happen is we can drop down to the Europa League in the second half. But again, seeing that Rangers were able to get there, they found a way to get through that round. And wasn't it like Walter Smith's Rangers team in 2008, which stunk the joint up and snuck through on away goals? There was a few performances that they put in where they went to Dortmund and won out there and stuff. They actually took some, serious scalps along the way. They found some way to work. And you look at us compared to them right now, we are so much better than them. It's like, how can we not do it? And we've mentioned it in the last few weeks. We've been talking about if European football comes to us after Christmas next season, Russell, it'll be 20 years since the last win in the knockout stages. 20 years as ridiculous to even think about. It has to end. And realistically, should Celtic be aiming? Well, they should always try and aim to go as far as they can. But is a final for the Europa League a realistic possibility?
I'm sceptical. For me personally, I think with a bit of ambition, a bit of belief, Celtic as a club being in a Europa League final, of course it is. But I don't envisage it happening. I've got to be honest. I think Ange has one way of playing, and I think, to be honest, if Celtic aren't going to really back that this summer and invest in another sort of level of one or two players, then you'll come unstuck against the big guys when you play that one way, if you know what I mean. That's not a criticism. I like the fact he sticks to his guns. I respect it. If there's supposedly a way of getting beat, then I suppose we do that well. But in terms of actually having I suppose we've seen other sides to our game recently, in terms of in the trenches a wee bit more, but a wee bit more resilience. But notwithstanding that, the opposition you're against is nowhere near what you'd be featuring against in a Europa League, even quarter-final, latter stage sort of match. And I think when it's been 20 years, it gives you that sort of insight as to how big a challenge Celtic seem to find it. Domestic bliss is one thing. European football is always in the forefront of my mind. Does it frustrate me when you see the likes of AZ Alkmaar could potentially be in a final a year, 18 months after getting beat off us? I suppose it does. I suppose it, but I suppose it opens up the opportunity to you thinking we could do it. I'm not quite sure where Celtic stand in terms of their European ambitions. I never proclaim to know Ange, and I know a lot of people talk like, Ange is their best pal. Ange thinks this. Ange thinks that. My assumption would be, and it's only an assumption because I'm not in the know of how Ange's mind works, is he views Celtic as a team that could make a far greater dent in Europe than what they have, as you say, in the last 20 years. It's great getting through a group. Can you win another game? Even if it was Europa League, could you win a knockout game? That'd be progress in itself. And then and before you know it, then the momentum could shift as well. Do you know what I mean? You've got that wee sort of confidence about you. I think that's a huge hurdle for him to try and overcome, though. I don't know. I would imagine he's got one eye seriously on making a landmark moment in Europe. That might be, though, getting us out of the Champions League group, which I think would be remarkable if we could do that. Do you know what I mean? I think that would be remarkable. I think he's the least of his expectations, hopes, I should say, hopes, maybe not expectations, but the least of his hopes for next season will be to make sure they finish third and they can then get into that Europa League. As for other teams that do it, it's difficult because you don't know the round of fixtures they've had. You don't know what sort of recruitment they've had. You don't know what their last 18 months have been like. We only know about ours. And it's easy just for the outside. You just see a club's name and you go, how are they doing it? What I would hasten to add would be, I dare say, AZ Alkmaar, week on week, are playing in a far more competitive environment than what Celtic are. Celtic, compared with the rest of the team, the rest of the teams in the league, are head and shoulders. AZ Alkmaar, I would imagine, are getting tested and pushed to their limits every single weekend. And I would imagine that sets you up then for European football midweek a hell of a lot better than what us beating Dundee United 9-0 would.
Do you know, I was about to say Alkmaar beating Dundee United 7-0 at the start of this season is what set them on their way.
And again, though, by the way, do you know what I mean? There's an example, like, they can't be like total mugs. I know it was a freak couple of weeks from a Dundee United point of view, but 7-0 is an astonishing result. They've been beaten, by the way, by Dundee United 1-0.
Beat them at Tannadice, 1-0.
But again, as I say, I just think it's very difficult. It's easy to look at club names, clubs' reputations, then contrast and compare with what Celtic's is. But I also think we don't know the ins and outs. We don't know what the recruitment's been like. We don't know if they've brought in players that are worldies like we have, that we think we have. They may have done similar from lower leagues in Holland, or they may have went to Belgium. Who knows? We don't know enough about them. On paper, you see AZ Alkmaar in a European semi-final, and it makes you jealous. But the ins and outs are probably a far, far greater detail than we'll ever be privy to.
No, for a shadow of doubt. By the update to that, West Ham have actually just equalised. They got a penalty and scored. But yeah, there's still a second leg to come as well on that one.
That's shite.
That's right. I'm not getting to the final. But yeah, let's have a wee look and see what else is coming out here. So let's see from Callum. Thoughts on Jota not getting the SPFL Team of the Year and Team of the Year in general? Well, this goes back to something that you've said plenty of times, Russell. He's held to a higher standard It's probably part of it. I mean, maybe there's a bit of virtue signalling going on by the SPFL, whoever it is that chose it. I was saying in the group the other day, we're having a bit of a joke about it, I know, in the group chat about, oh, Big Steve-O's going to vote for Van Veen and the Player of the Year awards. And I said, I mean, to be fair, I think Mark originally put the thought out there that the media will start pushing for like a different manager to win the Manager of the Year. And I went, if they're going to do that, it'll be Stephen Robinson. And then, funny enough, remember, I think I quoted in the group, I said in 2013, right, Celtic won the double. Neil Lennon got Celtic into the second round of the Champions League that season. And Michael Higdon won the Player of the Year, and the Manager of the Year went to Alan Johnston, the Queen of the South manager. And it was on the basis of, well, look what they've done with like what's available to them. I mean, Celtic, you would expect, but no, I mean, winning doubles was, I mean, I know trebles became the commonplace under Brendan Rodgers from that era onwards, but even doubles were hard to come by in that era as well. And then getting to the second round of the Champions League, unfashionable Neil Lennon as manager as well. But yeah, that year, 2013, I went and looked up on Wikipedia. The PFA Manager of the Year was Alan Johnston, the Queen of the South manager. And yeah, Michael Higdon, the Motherwell striker, won the Player of the Year. But yeah, Jota, like I say, you're not even in the SPFL Team of the Year. But yeah, we're even surprised to see they do these things from time to time with a bit of virtue signalling. Oh, we've got to get some other people in there just to show it's a bit competitive. Come on, Jota's the best player in the league, honestly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, if it's got to be there's a limit to how many Celtic players can be in it, and that's how they're doing it. That's the only explanation. But notwithstanding that, surely then Jota would be in the elite 7. Was it 7 Celtic players that were in it? 7, wasn't it?
Oh, I lost count after a certain number.
I think it was 7 or 8. 7 or 8. But for Jota not to be in the 7 or 8 with 21 goal contributions in the SPFL alone, okay. I do feel as well, though, like, people get caught up in this a wee bit too much. Jota won't be losing any sleep, Phil.
No, of course
right?
not. No.
No one in the Celtic team's losing any sleep about whether he's in the fucking SPFL Team of the Year or whatever. Nobody cares, mate. Do you know what I mean? It's all about what he does in a Celtic jersey. And we've got to be honest, 21 goal contributions in that league. 25, I think it is, in all competitions. That includes 2 goals in the Champions League this year. 2 out of our 3 goals are scored by our superstar from Portugal. He's looking very, very tidy in my opinion. I think he's at £6.8 million, an absolute steal in terms of what he can do footballing wise. I find it interesting that he's still on the periphery of that Portuguese international setup. I was reading tweets the other day that
Martinez said something this week, didn't he?
Aye, and Martinez is name mug. And the good thing about Martinez is he obviously played for Motherwell. His wife's Scottish, so he does not have that sort of arrogance towards our game in the slightest. Do you know what I mean? He's looking at it from a completely open mind.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be fascinating to see if Jota was to manage to squeeze into that sort of Portugal setup in the next 12 months. And I've got no doubt that if he was to be playing at the next level, that he would do okay. I think he's a wonderful player. The Team of the Year thing, I think you're right. I think they've got to balance the numbers somehow. Like the virtue signalling, as you say. Would Jota have though still made the top 7 or 8 Celtic players this season? For me, every day of the week. Right. But hey ho, that's just the way it goes. And as I say, I don't think anyone's losing any sleep whatsoever.
No, definitely not. Definitely. I mean, these are just. I mean, the players themselves are such a well-run unit now under Ange. It's all about the team. I think individual awards like that, or be individual recognitions like being in the Team of the Year. It's like nobody cares. Essentially, that'll be a lot of their mentality. It'll be like, no, it's all about the team. They'll all be thinking about finishing the season as strong as possible and winning the treble. If they make it into that, so be it. So yeah, I don't think Jota will be too worried, but it's been fantastic the last few weeks, particularly with Jota. Just obviously the important goals he scored, the stuff he's been doing off the park, the Brazen Heat wearing that classic Bumblebee shirt for a few photos. Just phenomenal how much he is fully on board with Celtic, and a lot of that's down to Ange Postecoglou, something that's been said on here plenty of times, just how he will have drilled into these players that, it's a big deal being at Celtic. Brendan Rodgers, as much as I love Brendan Rodgers, there's very much a lot of truth in that. He would have been telling them, come here, play a couple of years, do well, you'll get a big move down to England or back to
Stepping
England.
stone FC, mate. 100%.
But I think Ange 100% got these guys on board. Look, we're building something special here. We can definitely achieve something special. You know, are you in or out? And it looks to me like Jota's definitely in on that one.
And we're lucky to have him. I think he's a very, very gifted footballer. I think naturally the most gifted in the country. I've said it before. And I think he's held to a higher standard. You get held to a higher standard because people deep down are acutely aware, Phil, he is of another level. And I look forward to seeing, you know, what happens with Jota at this Celtic team. I think you're right. When you see him doing the visit and the pub stuff in the double denim, looking great.
Double denim, a mullet and a mustache as well. Fantastic.
I don't think he's doing it virtue signalling though. I think you need to remember there was a lot of stuff last summer where people had actually had encounters with him, Mike, on his travels. He's wearing a Celtic top. Apparently, remember he was abroad at one point.
That's right. Aye.
And then he went for 4 beers with a group of fans at one point. Or a few beers, I say 4. Like I know, probably had 10. Good on him. I hope he did. He's just telling the world it was a couple of beers. But either way, when Jota's doing that, that's someone who's emotionally and sort of he's invested. He's into it. I think he's an intelligent boy too. I don't know. I'm amazed he's managed to end up at Celtic. I think we've won a watch there. And
we have
SPFL Team of the Year. Jota doesn't care. I don't care. Nobody cares.
I think
cheers, Ryan.
Aye, thank you very much, Ryan. Yep, I always appreciated. But I was going to say, I think it spoke volumes that the stories came out that the Benfica fans were angry when we made that transfer and he went for such a low fee. There seemed to be a lot of fans from Benfica that were miffed as to how that was allowed to happen, but we've capitalised on it and that's good for us. And speaking of
Benfica, can he talk? They sell players for like 100 million euros and that. They sold David Luiz for about 50 million euro. They can
Darwin
try.
Núñez last summer.
They've made their euros.
Yeah, they must have one of the most incredible profits across Europe in the last decade. Astounding, absolutely astounding. By the way, speaking of Jota and being acutely aware of viewers, Jean Jota's coming in he's very acutely aware of how good AZ Alkmaar are because we were just talking about them, saying that Alkmaar just won the UEFA Youth Cup, first Dutch team to do it. Some academy, they beat Barcelona 3-0, Real Madrid 2-0, and Frankfurt 5-0. So there you go, a bit of a Dutch football knowledge there coming in from Jean Jota. So.
As I say, if you don't know, you know, it's easy just to judge the status of what you think the clubs are at, or by reputation. But you know, good knowledge, John, and I think that gives you a bit of insight. Maybe the cogs in their machine have been in a good place for a wee while now, and you're just beginning to see the fruition of that in the first team.
Well, here's a comment coming in from one of our regular viewers, Tattoo Face Tantrums. Has Ange mirrored broken through the adoration level we had for Wim Jansen, Joseph Venglos? I mean, Wim Jansen will always have a special place in the club's history because of obviously stopping the 10, no doubt about it. He will. Joseph Venglos, I mean, we covered his season on Bustalgia, and the guy had a lot of good ideas, but he was on instantly as soon as he came in the door, he was just up against it with a lot of different factors. The media, obviously, things were a bit badly run at the top end of the club because we just lost a manager. You've had to get him in. The transfer, well, there wasn't a transfer window per se, but we never actually made any moves in the window until October that season. Rangers went out and spent an absolute fortune. Surprise. Under Dick Advocat, came back to haunt them though. So I guess we won that battle. So Venglos was always up against it, but many fans will always look back on that season and go, you know, the guy came in with a lot of good ideas and he did sign his Lubo Moravcik. But in terms of Tattoo Face's question there, Russell, has Ange mirrored or broken through the adoration levels for both those managers? I'd say he has. I would.
Oh, I think more than that. I think there's a generation of fans who maybe early years of supporting Celtic was Brendan, and then they've always seeked a replica of that. And then if we're honest, I think, you know, there was a love bombing of Ange before he'd actually done much. Now, of course, it looks like everyone's been proven right, and therefore, and the way he conducts himself, he's class. Do you know what I mean? I think he's on a level where I always talk about O'Neill. I think there's a generation of fans that will be talking about if Postecoglou can do something in Europe, because if he were to depart for one of the many clubs he's been linked with next year, midway through a season, they'll call him a rat in a second as well. That's just how it works. Not because I'm envisaging that in the slightest, by the way. But I think if he carries on the trajectory he's on right now, I think I'd be looking more at the Messiah levels that Martin was held at if you could do something in Europe. And I certainly think already now, to a lot, he's replaced the void that was left when Brendan Rodgers left. And I think a lot of the bitterness to Neil Lennon was, a lot of it was emotive because they couldn't handle the fact he was a come down in terms of aura, presence, managerial reputation elsewhere, that what Brendan had. You knew it was going to be back to, the sort of crazy man on the side, you know what I mean? And Brendan kind of looked the slick, he looked the real deal. And I think people were looking for that hole to be filled, if you like. And I think Ange has more than stepped in the shoes of a Wim Janssen or a Venglos. To be honest with you, I think the Wim Janssen season to stop their 10 was miraculous. And I think you could say Ange to be, at this moment in time, on course in his second season for potential a record points haul ever. From where we were when he took over, has got to be regarded as miraculous as well, to say the least.
Yeah, to get a double in his first season when he was up against what he came in it and inherited, to turn that around, win 2 trophies, and then go and win a treble potentially in the second season, and, as you say, break a points record of a team that didn't lose a domestic game as well, keep in mind. That's how absurd it really is, how good this season could go. So, yeah, these are all the things that we're still aiming to achieve between now and the end of the season. It'd be fantastic if we do. And, yeah, it goes without saying, it's I definitely say Ange has far surpassed those ones. The benchmark is going to be, as you say, Martin and Neil and stuff like that, what he achieved in Europe, because that is the next frontier. We keep coming back to it, but it really is. It's 20 years, a team Celtic size should not be sitting here 20 years from our last victory. Incredibly, our last victory.
There's a similarity, though.
Yeah.
There's a similarity, Phil, I'm going to draw for you, pal. When John Hartson scored against Celta Vigo, that meant Europe after Christmas for the first time, I believe at that point, was 30 years.
It was in that region, you're definitely in that.
Was it 20?
I think it's the early 80s, but that's 20-something year at that point.
It was 20-something year. I'm positive it was about, well, let's just say it was 20 years and just draw it exactly the same. 30 would be a bit of a stretch. But I am sure when Hartson scored, first time we'd had European football after Christmas, let's say a minimum 20 years. That is an eerie similar comparison to draw. Of course, when we did that, we'd had the season before, we realised how tough a gig the Champions League was because we won 9 points under Renio and didn't go through. This year we only won 2 points, but I think there was comments earlier. I think it was Alex Stubbsy. I could be wrong. I think it was him. And saying, we created over 80 chances, in those 6 games. Like, we're not as far away. So, yes, we got a lot of plaudits, like O'Neill's did in his first ever group campaign. And then you get to that third one, and suddenly it all clicked. That's what we're hoping could happen again under Ange. And imagine if that was their car. But to do so, it would take, I think, a level of investment in 1 or 2 that we had in that O'Neill side, and I do think we're tooled up to do that. Is whether we're going to go to the next stage and actually go for it. You know what I mean?
Yes, indeed. Well, on the subject of investment, sorry to bring the tone down, but I need to bring up a name that most fans go, oh no. But you did make a good point. We were talking on the phone last night, and I think we will address this one because it never get mentioned. Well, I know Mark alluded to it a wee bit last night, but it's quite convenient that after we've now won the league, that a certain non-executive chairman has now decided, it's safe for me to show my face now and be all pally with Ange, having a good laugh with him in the director's boxes and stuff like that. That's interesting, isn't it? I just hope that, when we're hearing all these stories about, oh no, he's non-executive chairman, he's not going to be involved in anything, that better be the case, Celtic. Because we do not want to repeat some of the same mistakes of the last time where lack of investment and being asleep at the wheel from a position of strength rears its ugly head. But yes, it's interesting that, as you said to me on the phone last night, we've won the league, everything's rosy in the garden, and suddenly Mr. Lobwell pops back up in public again. Oh, yeah, I'm pally with Ange, look at me. It's like, oh, come on, man. But yeah, so sorry to bring the tone down and bring him up, but I did find it quite relevant of a story in the last couple of days where it's like, well, we've heard that you're back, but we've not really seen you in the public eye. But
Haven't at
conveniently
all.
this week, here he is. He's like, oh,
And
here
it's
I am,
two
everybody.
occasions. I think he can't resist it. And for all there's a million arguments to say what he did well at Celtic, Phil.
Oh yeah.
There's other arguments to question some of the things he did.
Mhm.
One thing that is not in question is he has an ego, and a big ego at that. I do feel there is a bit of that knowledge that, oh, the league's won. I mean, this guy was non-exec, remember? Non-exec chairman. I was getting reminded by a few people on Twitter that non-exec means you'll just be, just a wee bit of advice here and there if anyone needs it. Now with the league's won, it's suddenly side by side with Ange, and it's like I just look at stuff like that, and I go, well, where's these photo opportunities been in the last 5 months? They've not been there. I cannot help but look at it in a light of cynicism. Is that a word? Is that a word?
Yeah, cynicism is a word, yeah, but I get it. It's past bad experiences where you just see it. He's associated with what happened in the 10-row season. He's one of the guys that's the figurehead of many things that went wrong that season. And now that you see him back in some light, and he's now poking his head up at just at the time when everything's so great right now, and it's like, oh no, you just get that bad feeling that history could repeat itself, and it's like, please don't do this to the Celtics. So fingers crossed that this whole talk of, he's non-executive chairman, what the people have said to you, he's only going to do this and that. I mean, Bjorn Warrior's saying there, apparently he's got 350,000 shares in the club, so is that really non-executive chairman? Seems like quite a lot of shares to have. Seems like you have a lot of control in that case.
As I always try and implore people to remember, Phil, he's the only person at Celtic with the word chairman in his job title.
Yes.
So whether he's non-exec or whatever, no one else has the word chairman in their title at Celtic right now. We talk about the terminology of virtue signalling right now quite a lot. Why on earth would you not have an actual chairman, but just a non-exec chairman? If he's the only fucking chairman, he's the only chairman. You put non-exec in front of it all you want. So, yeah, of course, and we've got right to be sceptical about his intentions. And as I say, I cannot deny that the photo opportunities I feel he's taken up of late just reek a wee bit. It just reeks a wee bit. I can't handle it. I look at it and the cynic in me goes, you little bastard, you came back in January and then suddenly we get to May, the league's won, and suddenly it's okay to be photo with Ange, and it's almost like, it's just there's something smug about it, mate, that I just can't deal with.
Yeah, no, it's understandable, but I know that, there are some fans that, will just try and shut away from it. We're not saying it's going to happen that way. We certainly don't want it to happen that way, but we're battle trodden in that way where we've been through it in the past. We don't want to see it again. We really want. And the thing is, I seen a comment a few minutes ago just saying that, again, you just don't think that Ange will take any nonsense if there's going to be interference. We've seen in the past.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean but let's just get one thing straight here. Because you won't put up with nonsense doesn't mean nonsense doesn't happen. That's when you're faced with, if someone doesn't put up with it, that means then they're faced with a decision. But I don't have any doubt Ange doesn't put up with nonsense. I've got no doubt about that. But I'm also in no doubt what I've seen for a long time is nonsense from that end. So you reach, where that's two forces colliding then in that case. And just because Ange won't put up with nonsense, it does not mean there won't be nonsense. Who are you blocking, Phil?
Basically the other night when the Kenny Dalglish interview premiered, by the way, massive congratulations again on that. Phenomenal.
Oh, cheers,
when it premiered, that Stravoputis was kept coming in and spamming the chat with Glasgow Rangers or just like a great Rangers are or something. And then he came on again in another account spamming the same thing. And then he came on another account spamming the same thing. So I'm expecting to see another one pop up in about
Stravo.
20 seconds' time.
Oh, I like Stravo. He's like, he could be like my little puppy. Do you know what I mean? Like, good boy, Stravo. And you come. Do you know what I mean? This will be a different dog calling for you, son. You want to go and walk, Stravo? Behave.
Well, speaking of which, by the way, just on a wee side note, just as something that's slightly relevant to that, our two former Rangers residents that used to come onto the chat were actually on the live Celtic FC YouTube chat last night watching the Youth Cup final. My dad informed me about that one, saying, oh yeah, Bob McBob and the Blue Baron were in the Celtic one, not on the Rangers one. It was on Rangers YouTube channel as well. They could have watched it on that.
Boy.
But apparently they were on the Celtic feed watching it. But did you catch any of that Youth Cup final? 3-0 up, got it back to 3-3. All I've seen is the penalties from it because I heard it went to penalties. So I had the Milan derby on the telly and had that on my phone. But the penalty quality was a bit bad at times. It was probably where both teams were in a position to win and the bottle crashed. But Celtic got the job done. I saw quite a few meltdown posts from followfollow.com posted on Twitter today. Guys just losing their minds, saying this is unacceptable. Even the youth teams won a trophy on our park this season. So we've really broken them to that point, Russell. That's how broken they are.
Well, I think if we top to bottom, we're just a better club. I think it's that simple. And right now, there was no one surprised that Celtic got the result. I think the biggest surprise was they clawed it back for 3-0 to 3-all. But on their own turf, penalty shootout, we still get the job done eventually. I agree the penalties weren't of a great class, but the Celtic goalkeeper was phenomenal, by the way. The saves he pulled off are absolutely brilliant. You cannot deny that. See the one he read that he knew was going to go down the middle? That's clever. That is very clever. I enjoyed it. No, I think right now we've got the girls now challenging again to try and win the league, which would be an amazing thing. And by beating Glasgow City, who have been literally ruling women's Scottish football, to beat them tonight for 9,500 people. Celtic as a whole seems to be in a good place. Do you know what I mean? And I get why they'd be, having meltdowns and all that right now. As I've said for months now, everywhere they turn is a slamming door. Everywhere we turn, one opens right now. That's just how it feels.
Yeah, the Sideshow Bob Simpson's been able to keep standing on rakes. Every step he takes, a rake just comes up and hits him in the face. Classic Simpsons moment. That's what it literally is for them. It really is that. Oh, here he is. He's back. Whatever. Yeah,
hey, he's given a Greek name.
Oh, does he know Ange?
Stravos, mate. Stravos. We're going to bot you again, son. But anyway, accurate. The effort he's going to, mate. Honestly, he's got to subscribe, wait 20 minutes before he can post.
Mm-hmm.
I love this guy, man.
Yeah, so he had multiple accounts the other night during the Kenny Dalglish premiere.
I wonder how many adverts he's had to watch to do it as well. Keep bringing those 3 pences in, son.
Yeah, certainly. So he popped up during the...
Because pay for a haircut soon.
Me and David were watching the premiere as it happened, so I was monitoring like the moderator of the chat, and then I saw this guy and I thought, I'll let the guys in the chat have a wee bit of fun with him, but then he just kept spamming it to the point where it was every message, and I was like, no. If it was like one message that people could have latched on and slagged them off, I would have been like, oh, let him have fun with it.
I love the disguise, like, you can like put on a costume, he's just put his name into like Greek. If like me coming on, do you know what I mean? Like on a Rangers board, call myself like Rossi Boise Alley. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm the Italian Russell Boyce. It's not me. Nobody cares, mate. Beat it.
Exactly, man. But we'll now see if the viewers want to get some points in just now, because we're getting to 48 minutes, so we'll be looking to wrap up in the next 10-15 minutes or so. So we'll go try and end on some quick fire stuff. But here's one from earlier on in the show. So going back to talk about team selections again, I know we've talked a lot about it, but again, this is a guy that just keeps coming up. And I think if you're going to give him a run of games between now and end of the season, Abada, will he start? I mean, I don't see any reason why not. I don't think it's a bad idea. It's not like he's totally frozen out and he knows he can do the business against them. But it's just clear at the moment Ange is very much about Jota and Maeda starting. But I mean, Maeda has improved massively since the World Cup, I felt, but there has been some performances he's put in where he does blow very hot and cold. Even though I hyped him up at the start of the show, my wee analogy for the pharmacy, I did use him as my example, but there has been some games, man, where he does get in behind, has loads of space, goes to cross it and puts it right out for a goal kick, and it's like, So frustrating. Abada, we know, can do the damage against them. A lot of people still going on about Abada's definitely leaving. They think he's going. We don't know for definite. I mean, he looked pretty happy in the celebrations last week. He looked very
seemed to pour
happy.
cold water on it. I don't know. Do you not see his quotes?
No, I've not seen them. Nope.
He said yesterday, mate, he goes, I see it all in the media, he goes, but I couldn't be happier at Celtic. Oh, he's exactly poured cold water on it all, mate.
It's good to hear.
So, I just wonder how much of it, again, sometimes we suspect is mischief making. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. It's but yeah, I say with the remaining games that are left, I don't see any reason why Abada can't, get a few games and maybe get himself into the cup final team. Because realistically, again, going on current form, I don't think Maeda should be a guarantee for the cup final. Whether if Ange's one of favourites or not, I don't think on current form, I don't think Maeda's been great.
Well, no, it should be, should they?
No, this is a chance to, get in. This is a big thing, the cup final. It really is.
You've got to earn it in life, mate. Do you know what I mean? We'll have to wait and see on that one. I mean, I think if Abada was in the starting lineup, I'd love to know how many of our fans would be concerned by that. I don't think anyone would be.
None,
No one would be concerned. I think it would be something you go, okay, I'm mixing it up a wee bit. And you would guess if there was some sort of game plan. I've said this before. I believe that what Beale's done so far has kept the scores, a lid on the scores. And by doing that, what he's done is set up his teams to combat what Celtic do. Whilst once his team gets the ball, they've not really got much to bring to the party, if you like. But when it comes to actually stopping Celtic and doing what they're doing, that seems to be the focus of their attention. Now, with that in mind, I believe that would involve advising Maeda in the starting lineup.
Yeah.
That would be part of his mindset when coming up with the plan to thwart Celtic. So, switching from Abada's then on the right, Jota's on the left. Before you know it, it's a completely different conundrum. And I definitely think there's an argument that could be and it's not a wild card, but it could be the sort of unexpected decision that could become quite fruitful, I think, in the fixture. Let's be honest, Abada's got a hell of a lot more goals against Rangers than Maeda does.
Yeah. Yeah, just ask Borna Barisic. He's absolutely haunted by the guy. So yeah, if he did come in and play, I don't think it would be outside the realms possibility. Don't think it would be a drop in the standard of the team. And yeah, with him being out with his injury or whatever for the last few weeks, there's a chance to get 4 games under his belt between now and the cup final. And get back into fitness and get in contention for starting in that final, because it's a big occasion. Regardless of who the opposition is in the final, it's a huge one. We're on the verge of 5 trebles in 7 years, I believe it is. So it's like, come on, man. I mean, this is huge. So yeah, Abada's get every right to could get in the team on Saturday, could get himself right back into contention. And fingers crossed if he does. Here's a wee fun question from Brown Warrior saying, are you aware that we get to keep the St. bike if we win the treble? Does that count towards their overall trophy tally that they always go on about? Because I always laugh when I see any pictures of trophy women. There's a bike there, and I'm just like, a bike? Like, how?
What's the St. racer?
It's a bike. It's a bike that's in the Ibrox trophy room. You ever seen the picture?
Is that what the name of the bike
St.
is?
Etienne gave them it as like it was like one of the like in friendlies you'll get like a pendant or something. St. Etienne gave them a bike. There you go.
St. Etienne playing green and white too, which is good.
They do, I know.
That's all right, man. I mean, I think in regards to the fixture itself, something or nothing is gone now. It's now nothing or nothing, as Jonathan would say, and they're in trouble. They're in trouble, mate. I think from our point of view, I do believe there's a wee bit for Celtic's point of view. It's like we don't want to give them any oxygen, but I honestly believe, that if we were to lose the game, we'd all be okay. I don't think our strategy for the summer changes. It would give them a wee comfortable narrative, and I dare say I'll be more, as I say, come Saturday that train of thought. But at this moment in time, I'm okay with where we are, and I think even if we were to lose, obviously we don't want that to happen. It'd be good to go season unbeaten against them. But I think once you take stock and you look at it, you go, that's all right that happened. Do you know what I mean? It's not the end of the world. For their point of view, they fucking need to win. They absolutely. He needs to win. The guy in the dugout for them needs to win, and that is where they must be panicking a wee bit.
Because the last time we found ourselves in this situation where we were going to Ibrox for the last meeting against them after we'd already won the league was 2019. And they beat us 2-0, and we won the treble just a few weeks later. Was anybody even thinking about that Rangers game after that? No, you just forget about it. If we go on and win the treble again this season, even if we were to lose at Ibrox on Saturday, it'll quickly fade in. They'll make a lot of noise about it and try and hype it up and make it into something it's not. And for the 2019 example is a great one, because that's also the one where they stupidly, their official Twitter account actually tweeted a GIF from that game when it was announced that Lennon was getting the Celtic job permanently, and it was like 5 minutes later they put the wee one at Arfield celebrating that game, his wee soldier salute he does. They're like, who's looking forward to next season already then? And that was the season that we went on and won the quadruple treble, and Lennon beat them at Ibrox, and we beat them in the cup final. And yeah, so it was like, yeah, you know, don't get too far ahead of yourself. It would be like them to get too far ahead of themselves, you know. It wouldn't be, you know, they've got a habit of doing that over the last few years. But speaking of which, obviously, Russell, this coming, obviously with the game coming on Saturday, that means Bustalgia is a themed show around the fixture. So the one that I've got planned for tomorrow night is basically we're going to be talking about our favourite goals in the fixture against Rangers over the years. And I've had a difficult time, because I thought when I put this together, when I said it to
you make your stupid rules, you can only pick one guy for each goal. I mean, only you would do that.
I know. I like to really make it hard.
You can't just help yourself, can you?
You've
got to stress me out all week with Celtic trivia. Like, you know, the podcast is doing all right, Phil. Do you know what I mean? Without you just like going, do you know what? Boyce has got it too easy. Have one of these.
Well, the thing was, in my head, I was like, you know, we could sit, we talk about our 10 favourite goals. I say, I've got a wee point system for it. So by the end of it, we'll have like an overall list of like our favourite. And I was sitting looking, I watched a video through the week. It was like 2.5 hours long. Every goal against Rangers from 1980 to 2023. And I got it to 19, and I was like, I need to get it to 10 now. I'm struggling.
From what years is that?
Whatever your favourite goals are, but that video
whatever
your favourite goals are. But that video I happened to find was 1980 to 2023, which covers quite a good spectrum to say the least. But yeah, I got it down to 19. I'm like, how did I get this into 10? I'm still struggling, but yeah, tomorrow night we'll do our.
I think I've got a full-time job in that. Do you know what I mean? When am I coming up with the time to do this?
Yeah, so the homework actually involved actually putting lists together. But yeah, tomorrow night I believe Liam will be joining us again, and I'm only to get one more from the team on as well, just getting more variety hopefully. But
ramp up the pressure.
There's a preview graphic for tomorrow there.
Like
a few of those guys may be featuring. I get a funny feeling because there are a few excellent goals along the way scored by them. But that will be the theme tomorrow night. Derby, top 10 Derby day goals. And we'll just be going over our list with reminiscing, jumping all over the place in the old timeline. But a fair few bangers in there from say the video that I've watched to do my homework. But yeah, at the moment I've still not even got it down to 10 yet. I'm still struggling.
Hello.
Hello.
It's Jonathan Boyce live on the podcast.
Oh, Jonathan.
Hello, Jonathan. You're live, Jonathan. Say hello.
Hello.
I'm phoning you to ramp up the pressure. You need to come on Bustalgia tomorrow night, mate.
What's going on Bustalgia tomorrow night? Like?
You've got to find your top 10 Celtic goals versus Rangers ever, right? And it's two can't be by the same Pam's going, Jono! You're over the microphone, mate. Everyone can hear you.
Oh, aye.
This is amazing.
So you've got to the key is we've got to name our favourite 10 goals against them, but you can't choose the same scorer twice.
Oh, easy peasy.
Easy peasy.
Oh,
I was
easy
like,
peasy.
Phil, all he's doing is giving us homework, Jonathan. So I thought the only way to get you on will be by putting the pressure right on you and making you make a live decision. So I'll ask you the question: will Jonathan Boyce be appearing on Bustalgia tomorrow night?
Oh, yes, you can count me in, yes.
Yes.
I'll be there.
Yes.
Yes, mate. Legend. Right, I'll leave you with that homework, son.
Right, okay. Enjoy your show. Bye-bye.
That's how you do it, Phil.
That was
Ramp the
class, mate.
pressure
Well
right
done.
up, mate. He had no idea what to do there. You had to say yes. You'd be waiting. That's his Friday night plan's gone. He probably had about 3 dates he's got to cancel now. Do you know what I mean?
But there you go. Tomorrow night it'll be me, Russell, Liam, and John. Will then be on. We'll be going over our 10 favourite goals against Rangers. And I say it can be any time period. There isn't a specific one. Anyone that you like, and it doesn't need to be a screamer of a goal. You might like it for personal reasons. It might mean something significant to you. Whatever it means. Just whatever. If it's your favourite, it's a subjective list. It's not an objective list. So yeah, that's what it's all about. So we're doing that tomorrow night to get you all warmed up for the game on Saturday. So that's the plan.
Look forward to it, mate.
Indeed,
Look forward to it. Anyway.
Yeah, but that's been a wee T.N.F. We 2-man T.N.F. We well, as I say, we've done a show together, a live one, and usually it's just pre-recorded bus stops you and I do. But yeah, which is the old days again. But yeah, we're out here for tonight. Tomorrow, say we're back for Bustalgia. So join us for that, and we want to hear obviously your suggestions in the comments as well about your favourite goals tomorrow. So yeah, make sure you get involved in all that. And that's another show in the bag. So Russell, anything more to say before we head off into the distance?
No, man, I'm away back to play pool and watch YouTube about Egyptian pyramids because I'm obsessed with it, the new man. Just obsessed with Egyptian pyramids, man. It's mental.
They are quite fascinating, to be fair. They actually are. We'll talk about this off the air because they are quite a fascinating thing.
I'm mad for them, man, honestly. That's what I'm away to do. Everyone enjoy their night. Great to be on.
Right, catch you later, guys. See yous.
I mean, you've all that stuff at the start. You know, they won't be playing Tina Turner on the coach on the way home, will they?
Some of his comments about me deliberately trying to cause controversy. Well, I work in the media now, and you've got someone sitting there next to you who's an embarrassment to the media profession. He's an apologist. He's a charlatan. He's a Rangers puppet. He's a cheerleader. That's what he is.